Greetings, humans. Welcome aboard. It is the Friday Night Live with Bob and Emil. FootballDiehards.com is where you find us all the time. If you're just happen to stumble across this on the Twitter or the Periscope, we are from FootballDiehards.com. I am Bob Harris. He is Emil Cadlick. And we like to do this Friday night, answer some of your questions. We'll touch base on some news items of interest, but mostly answer your questions. If you want to check us out on Twitter, at FFDiehards is where you'll find the site feed. I'm at FootballDiehard. If you want to check out the site and you're not a subscriber at the moment, go to FootballDiehards.com/free trial. Check out a couple weeks, see what you think. Sign up for next year. It's good stuff, man. We got all kinds of stuff going on. We'll talk about that at length as well, undoubtedly, but we definitely want to get to your questions. Let me tweet us out here and get this going. There you are. There we are. Look at us. We're so handsome. All right. There we go. All right. So this week, so plenty of news this week to get us started, Emil. And how are you this fine evening, by the way?
Having a blast. A little under the weather the last few days, but looking forward to the weekend and see if we can survive in a few of our leagues and hopefully help our customers survive week 15.
It is that time of year, and it is week 15 fantasy crunch time if you're not playing the DFS. And if you are, we got plenty of information on the site for you there, but we'll be taking your questions. A few items of interest. Derrick Henry listed as questionable, did not practice all week, which is a little concerning, but he vows he will play. Jameis Winston will play despite being listed as questionable. He's got a thumb fracture in his throwing hand. That's a little concerning. He does not have Mike Evans. That's even more concerning, but they go against Detroit. So interesting matchup there for on both sides. On Detroit, Bo Scarborough is listed as questionable as well. So, and they're down to just like 4 receivers, only 2 of whom you've actually heard of. That would be Kenny Golladay and Danny Amendola. Chris Lacey next man up. Josh Jacobs listed as questionable. Sounds like he's good to go, and he will play despite that questionable designation. Adam Thielen is off the injury report this week, so it looks like he'll return from an extended absence with the hamstring injury to face the Chargers in Los Angeles. Alexander Mattison ruled out in that game. Juju Smith-Schuster couldn't get it going. They say he didn't suffer a setback, yet he practiced fully one day, left the middle of practice the next day. I don't know. Smells like a setback to me, but we'll see. Ruled out. James Conner listed as questionable, practiced fully all week. My guess is he'll play. T.Y. Hilton trying to work his way back from that calf injury. He started practicing on a limited basis. That's a Monday night game. The other side of the football there, Jared Cook working his way back from a concussion. Other concussed players, Devontae Parker signed a huge new deal today at a contract extension, $40 million over 4 years, half of it guaranteed, $8 million up front. Great deal for him. He and Albert Wilson both concussed, but should get clearance on Saturday. Check our FootballDiehards.com, the late-breaking update section. We'll tell you all about that through the course of the day. Some guys that will not be playing this week, and we won't see again. Alshon Jeffrey, done for the year. Darius Geis, done for the year. Rashad Penny, done for the year. Marvin Jones Jr., done for the year. Calvin Ridley, done for the year. Who was added today? Someone else went on IR. Today I'm having a hard time thinking about it. Maybe that was Jeffrey. Anyhow, so there we have it. We'll start getting some questions here, I'm sure, at some point.
Yeah, we got one right now where you just mentioned a little earlier. Do I start Adam Thielen or Carlos Hyde? And Hyde's playing, I think, the AM game, and Thielen's playing the afternoon game.
Yeah, is that true? Yeah, Thielen's. So I look. Thielen is off the injury report, so it's pretty much a straight play. Are you concerned that he is going to maybe, have an issue? We saw that against Kansas City, right, when he tried to come back. Also has to deal with the coverage of one Casey Hayward, one of the tougher coverage quarterbacks. If you go check out the Shadow Report by Gary Davenport on the website, you'll see a little more about that. But look, Hyde has been pretty uninspiring, right?
He doesn't have a bad, floor. But right. I mean, it's week 15. You've been waiting for Thielen all this time. It's time to shoot your wad, but it could he could go out of the game like he did earlier in the first quarter. I mean, I'm tempted to start Thielen and just let it go. He's your guy.
I would be too. I mean, it is a flex. Look, I generally like to feature back in the flex role. Hyde splits up or chops it up a little bit with Duke Johnson. I mean, you look at the last 3 games, 6, 3, 9. The problem for Hyde is obvious. He gets nothing from the passing attack. The only thing he gets is on the ground. So he's a little touchdown dependent in that regard. I'd probably go Thielen as well.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking to not get a 0 and avoid the floor and not worry about someone getting, having a setback in game, then Hyde is probably your guy.
Yeah. Got 2 more questions here. PPR, 1 PPR. Need 2. Debo, Amendola, Perryman, and Washington for the Steelers. 4 guys. It needs 2.
I'd probably go Debo and Washington, with Juju out. I mean, look, it seems like Deontay Johnson's kind of the guy that's coming on a little bit more in that one. And I wouldn't talk you out of Perriman. I mean, my concern for Perriman is he's going to get thrust into the action and most likely see a fair amount of Darius Slay, who I don't know that he necessarily travels into the slot where they'll run Godwin a fair amount. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll try to stop Godwin. But Perriman's a fine play. Look, I mean, as much as Tampa Bay throws the ball or as little as they run the ball, I mean, there's no reliable options there. So I wouldn't talk you out of Perriman in that one if that's the direction you wanted to go as well.
Yeah, that's a pretty good analysis. Amendola's kind of curious because he's playing Tampa Bay. I think that's what it was off the top of my head. But those are
he is. And I mentioned at the top. Sorry to step out of the picture. I want to get the picture. As I mentioned at the top, I mean, Danny Amendola is basically, there is no Marvin Jones, so it's Kenny Golladay, Danny Amendola, Chris Lacey, a guy they promoted from the practice squad this week. So, I mean, the options are limited. So, I mean, there's going to be a pretty reasonable floor there. It seems like where they get it's very hard to run against Tampa Bay. So you imagine they're going to be throwing the ball a fair amount. And if Tampa Bay has their druthers, everyone's going to be throwing because that's what they like to do. They want to shoot out. So
that's a good one. Okay, the next one here is A.J. Brown, 0.5 point PPR, or Tyler Boyd.
So Boyd, I think, the matchup is obviously very tough, much easier for Brown. The problem for me with Brown has been it's up and down. I mean, the huge games are amazing. The other games are pedestrian, so it's kind of been a 50-50 split. I think given this matchup, I'd probably go A.J. Brown, though.
But,
the Patriots team worries me, right?
Looking to next year, this guy looks like a potential, wide receiver 2-ish. He's got some talent. The only question is, are they going to throw enough to him? But I just really, this guy's quick. He looks strong. He could be a really
Ryan Tannehill. Yeah, he's a big kid. Ryan Tannehill is clearly, got an eye for him as well. And they have good chemistry. And it sounds like, the future quarterback of the future there is Ryan Tannehill, assuming he doesn't turn back into Ryan Tannehill at some point. I think we'll see him. They already talk about them either franchise tagging him or getting him signed to an extension.
I would not be surprised if they draft a fairly decent quarterback this year, assuming there's a deep run because of his future. We got a bunch of more that just popped up.
Hit him up. Hit me up.
A lot of kitchen. Okay, PPR starting Elliott and Carson, flex, A. Jones, Mostert, or Hilton. I didn't know Hilton was playing.
Yeah, well, we don't know that he's playing, and we may find out on Saturday, right? We're doing this Friday night. If you're watching the replay of this Saturday, they'll release the final injury report. I know Hilton's got back on the practice field. I don't know that means he's ready to play, and I don't know that they won't be cautious with him. I'd go Aaron Jones there, and for a reason. I mean, look, the Bears are a reasonably tough matchup, but Mostert, I feel like we're about to get the okie doke, right? Because all of a sudden Kyle Shanahan's telling us this is our guy, right? He's the leader of the committee. Had Cam Inman from the San Jose Mercury News on the Football Diehards today on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. If you're subscribers, you should be listening to that show every single day. But had him on, and that was his feeling. He's going, look, this is what Shanahan does. He sets them up. He gets everyone thinking one thing, and look, we don't want to give him, Kyle Shanahan superpowers, but there's 3 running backs there, all of whom are capable and all of whom we've seen kind of spike up. Mostert's getting a lot of run. He looks phenomenal to me. I wouldn't talk you out of him as a flex. I'd probably still play Jones.
Yeah, I like that. I guess in my mind, mentally, I've just given up on Hilton. I shouldn't. And I've got him in tons of leagues. I put him on the bench. But we'll see what happens here on Saturday and Sunday morning.
I mean, the concern for me with Hilton was the last time we saw him, he made it through about half of the game with that calf issue. as somebody who's dealt with a calf issue like literally for over a year, they're easily aggravated, these injuries.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe I'm projecting too much of my own feelings on that one, but nonetheless, I mean, some of this is going to be decided for a Saturday. Either he's not going to be available or he's going to be available, and it's still a decision. I'm just not going to push him back in this first game back for me.
All right, got a handful more questions popped up. Half a point PPR, top 2 of these wide receivers: Gallup, Lockett, Mike Williams, and Perryman.
Perriman's out. Just, not that he can't have a huge game, obviously, but so I keep thinking I want to catch Lockett's bounce back game, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it comes, the feeling is James Bradbury, their top corner will match up with DK Metcalf, the bigger, more physical guy, and that leaves Lockett with a pretty good matchup. But I mean, he's disappeared, right? They say he's 100%, say he's ready to go. Russell Wilson has not been playing around, so I have 2 things I'm holding in my mind. Huge rebound game for Russell Wilson and the Seahawks in general seems like one possibility. That said, I'm playing Gallup and Williams. Williams has been making highlight reel catches every single game. Finally got in the end zone last week. I know that doesn't mean he's going to get in again, but it was nice to see him finally get in. It took a while, and that was good news. But and Gallup seems like a locked-in play for me. I mean, the workload has been great. The matchups maybe favor him. The expectation is Jalen Ramsey will be shadowing Amari Cooper. Look, and that wouldn't keep me from playing Cooper. I think the Cooper at home, Dak Prescott at home, and Michael Gallup at home. I think these are all good things for this, even in the matchup with a pretty ferocious pass rush.
All right, next question. Who do I start, Duke Johnson or Adam Thielen?
I'm going to start Thielen in that one. I just don't see a ton of upside for Duke Johnson. I see maybe a bit of a floor. Again, I'm not huge on the matchup for Thielen, but maybe they can work him around, move him into the slot some. We've seen that in the past. So hopefully they can scheme to get him open. And I'm going to try and have a little faith. The last time I think he played and didn't make it, I'd have to go back and double check. I don't want to say this, but my feeling was he was still questionable that game. He's still pretty fresh in the injury. They've nursed it along pretty well. Thought he was going to come back 2 weeks ago, and they dialed back. Didn't come back last week. I'm hoping that he's fully healthy. If you have any concern about, though, the hamstring getting an aggravation, go ahead and play Duke Johnson. I think you know what you're getting from him, though, right? So that's and let me just look at his scoring.
You really got to hope he slides in the end zone, which doesn't happen very often, or he gets
right. I just want to double check and make sure it's as miserable as I think it is before we get off it. But I'm pretty sure it's pretty miserable. He's had double digits the last 2 weeks. I don't know if I'm betting on that, but he has a pretty damn good floor looking at it.
He's gotten better over the last few weeks in my memory.
Last 2 weeks, so against Baltimore it was 6 points, against Indianapolis it was 4 points, against New England it was 20 points, against Denver it was 10. He's had a few double-digit games prior to that, Jacksonville where you would expect him to, Kansas City where you'd expect him to. Yeah. So he generally gets what he's expected to. New England would be the outlier where he really came through, and maybe even that makes a little sense, but because he got the receiving touchdown. So I'm probably still playing Thielen, but Johnson's a little better than I thought.
All right, next question. Not big on Mixon this week. If Jacobs is out, would you start Dwayne Washington in a half a point PPR? Let's go see what Dwayne did last week real quick.
Well, I probably would be starting DeAndre over Dwayne because Dwayne plays for the New Orleans Saints and probably is not the one you want. If you wanted to play DeAndre if there was no Josh Jacobs, I would be all on board. It's a phenomenal matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who can't stop a damn thing. It's the last game in Oakland, but my feeling is Josh Jacobs is going to play. So there's that.
Yeah. So I guess you got to seriously consider Mixon again.
I would seriously consider Mixon. I know it's a tough matchup, but they keep giving him the football almost no matter what because I don't know that they have a ton of choices. Yeah. That offense is not loaded with playmakers. I know John Ross is back. But I look at the last couple of weeks against Cleveland, 24, against the Jets, a very tough run defense. He got 13 points. Pittsburgh, very tough defense in general, got 7. Oakland, 16, pretty easy matchup. Baltimore, 17 in PPR. So He is capable.
Yes. Okay. Great.
I would probably still play Mixon in this one. I don't want to outsmart myself. Definitely don't play Dwayne Washington because I don't think you get special teams tackles points.
All right. Next question: if Devontae Parker is active, would you start him in standard ahead of Beckham and
Yes.
Diggs?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at him, if you take away the game where he got hurt, right, last week, I mean, he left early, and I'm trying to remember the snap count, but I don't think it was more than 20 snaps.
Yeah.
But if you go back prior to that, since week 6 against Washington, basically since Preston Williams went out, Parker has been a top 10 fantasy wide receiver.
Yeah,
I think it's top 5 even if I looked at the totals right a couple of weeks ago. So,
but what's funny about fantasy football and the emotions of fantasy football is how many times have we kept trying to give Parker a chance and we finally gave up on the guy, and then he has a few good weeks this year and you still don't want to believe it. But this is one of the rare situations where a guy finally has come through for what we had hoped he'd do.
Yeah, and clearly he came through and he's become what the Dolphins want him to be because they just handed him $40 million.
They just gave him a big contract. Okay, let's see what else we got here. All right, point per completion league: Tannehill, Jimmy G, or Baker. He's starting Henry in the same league if he goes. So yeah, that's Tannehill, Jimmy, or Baker.
So I like Jimmy G a lot this week as well. So here's the thing. If I'm putting all my eggs in one basket, I want it to be a really good basket. I would suggest that that's a pretty good basket right now, the Tennessee basket, certainly with the Tannehill, Henry portions. If you wanted to split it up, I'd probably go, who is it? Tannehill, Garoppolo, and who? And Mayfield?
Baker, yeah.
Yeah, I love the matchup for Baker, but I'd probably still go Garoppolo a little over him.
Yeah, it's San Francisco, Atlanta. It's San Francisco, the late game. Important game. Everything's important now, of course. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Okay, see, 1 point PPR. I need 2 for flex. Kareem Hunt, Perryman, and Amendola or Laird. So he's got 4 options for 2. Hunt, Perryman, Amendola, and Laird.
Look, I think Laird gives you a great floor right now, as in PPR at least. You've got a good receiving number. You've got an offense where there's nothing else. He had like 80+% of the snaps. They don't seem to be real keen on Myles Gaskin there. So I like Laird. If you go check out on the website my DFS 3 and out, my tournament column, he's in there. The Giants not really good at the defense. Maybe even got worse. I know Janoris Jenkins has been up and down, but cutting him loose today, I don't know that really helps their overall situation. The thing about the Dolphins that I think is interesting is up until last week when they could not score a touchdown to save their lives, they were the best team in the red zone from week 6 till last week. They were an 80% red zone team, and I think they can be that. I think that efficiency, maybe some of that has to do with Parker's presence, and having the whole shooting match there. But I do think Laird's a solid floor play in PPR.
So who were his other options? It was Kareem Hunt, Perryman, and Amendola.
So, I mean, Amendola, you're playing the anticipated opportunities, and I'm okay with that. Hunt has had a really solid floor. I'm looking at the numbers just to make sure it hasn't dropped off much. But, I mean, it's been double digits every single week since week 10. Right? So
yeah, for Hunt,
and that's with touchdowns, without touchdowns, doesn't matter. He gets that same, 10 to 20 range, or 17's been the high.
And it's a 1 point PPR. I mean, Hunt's a very tempting guy right there because
he'd be my pick. If I'm looking for a high floor, he'd be my pick for this week against Arizona.
We got a couple more questions, but I wanted to, without getting off on too much of a tangent, I was just thinking yesterday, what if Kansas City had sat around and waited on Kareem Hunt and not cut him and put him on a 6-week suspension? What would Kansas City be right now if they had Kareem Hunt as their number 1 running back?
You could make the argument, and I've made this argument in recent weeks, that's maybe a bit of a missing piece to this offense, right? Is not having that guy.
I think these guys could be that much better. I really believe watching Hunt at Cleveland and, of course, remembering him.
and losing the top 3 running back in the NFL for nothing, right? For
nothing.
Well, I mean, not for nothing.
Well,
You know,
I mean, he's a
getting
horrible
nothing in
guy.
return.
What he did was really bad. But what happened at the end? The dust settled. Cleveland picked him up, gets off his probation. If he would just have been sitting on Kansas City just instead of Cleveland, I just think that would make Cleveland.
I'm pretty sure what Kansas City's approach with Tyreek Hill this offseason is a direct result of the outcome of the Kareem Hunt situation.
I bet they were very
but I'm with you.
upset.
I think if they had that top 5 running back in Kansas City, things would be a lot different for that offense.
All right. I apologize. We got about 4 more questions here before I ask again. It says here, would you start Kamara this week or pivot to Mostert?
Man, you're getting a little cute there. I know the numbers haven't been there for Kamara.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not the kind of split it is, and that's the thing. I mean, for me, look, Mostert's been the guy. If you go to our website, I have an article up from, I think, early this morning, talking about how, you know, this quotes from Shanahan. If you want to go look at them again, I will tell you that the local beat writer, Cam Inman, told me tonight it's an okie doke. He's going to, you know, as soon as he sets you up, this is a Shanahan trait in his estimation. Look, you can buy into all that, or you can buy into Mostert's recent production. I'm going to have a hard time living with myself if I take Kamara out. But look, there comes a point where you have to divorce the name from the numbers.
Sometimes you got to go against right.
Kamara's production has not been high end. You know, certainly not what you drafted to be. So, yeah. I mean, that's a hard call. I want to look at the weekly totals. It seems like
a lot of people that have played guts like that and done quite well with it.
Right. So as I go back,
go ahead.
Go back like the week 1, 23, then 7, 37, then 11, 17, then 13, out a couple weeks with injury, then 15, then 22, then 19, then 12, then 8. I mean, it has not been consistently high end, and that's what we drafted to be. So I get it. I'm probably still going to play him. I'm still probably playing him over Mostert myself against the Colts, but I get it, you know. So
okay, here's the next one here.
I'm not going to say Mostert's crazy. I just don't know that I could do it.
All right, Philadelphia D or Kansas City D? Let's see. Philadelphia is at Washington, and Kansas City is versus Denver.
It's playing Denver at home. I'm probably playing the Kansas City D and hoping the Drew Lock run, you know, at least they're throwing the ball. I think for Washington, you're not getting a lot of opportunities to make disruptive plays because they're not looking to throw the ball a ton, and they're, you know, I mean, so that's probably the direction I'd go. I mean, they're both reasonable quarterbacks. I like picking on rookie quarterbacks, and both of them have that.
All right, next question here. Okay, if you had to pick 2, Josh Jacobs, Melvin Gordon, or Derrick Henry?
Oh, well, I mean, if Jacobs is playing, there's no way I'm not playing him against the Jaguars. There's the easiest matchup on earth. So it's between Gordon and Henry. Both late kickoffs. It doesn't really matter when the kickoff is. I think Chargers are a late kickoff, so you have a fallback if Henry doesn't go. I play Henry if he's playing. Yeah. And look, if you're worried, if you feel like, hey, I don't want to play a guy that's questionable and didn't practice all week, it's not like you have a bad option. You know, but the hair splitting here is, okay, do I play a hamstrung Derrick Henry, who, to be clear, has run hamstrung the last 2 weeks pretty damn well, or do I play a healthy Melvin Gordon in what's, not a horrible matchup? The Vikings have not been scary lately, but there's the specter of Austin Eckler, and he is scary because, I mean, both of those guys could be top 10 finishers. So, I mean, that's the decision you have to make. If it was me making it, I'd try to play Henry if at all possible.
Excellent. Okay, last question here until we get more. Amari Cooper or Odell Beckham?
I'm playing Cooper. I get it. It's a good matchup. At some point, Odell Beckham's going to have a good game. I don't know when it's going to be. He's, been beat up all year. They've talked about it. He's going to need surgery after the season. It is a great matchup. Patrick Peterson's not scaring anybody. So I'm not going there yet. I think Jarvis Landry is the play in the Cleveland's receivers right now, not Beckham. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay.
I get it.
Next question here. PPR need a flex. I'm sorry?
They're trying to leverage the matchup. That's cool. Go ahead.
PPR, need a flex. Boyd, James White or Cup?
I'd probably play James White in that one. Cup's just cut up. I mean, the offense has run more through Robert Woods and Tyler Higbee the last 2 weeks with Gerald Everett out. Everett's out again. I just, I need to see. We know Cup can have huge games. I mean, we've seen it, 200 yards, and we've seen goose eggs. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's been wildly inconsistent.
We haven't seen that lately.
No, we have not seen the big games lately. We've seen, and the snap count's down for him as well. So that's a bigger problem.
Another question for the same guy. He needs a tight end, Hollister or Higbee?
I'm playing Higbee.
I agree.
It's a great matchup for Hollister, granted, right? So I wouldn't talk you out of it.
It's just nice to see Everett's out, so you know that Higbee's the guy, and he has definitely produced.
Right, to 100-yard games in back-to-back weeks. Maybe Dallas figures out how to slow him down, but they don't have a lot in the linebacker crew right now. So,
all right, another question here: quarterback, Drew Brees or Jimmy Garoppolo? I'm
playing Drew Brees.
Boy, what a great opportunity last week. And I know people were talking about him with what an incredible game. Would have been a great DFS, but I didn't play DFS last week. All right, that's what. Got another one here. Hunter Henry or Darren Waller?
I'm going to play Darren Waller. Jaguars can't stop anybody doing anything. And the Vikings, for all their shortcomings, slowing the tight end is not among those. They're pretty good at that. And Henry kind of can disappear at times. So I'm going with Waller.
Sounds good. Let's see. That's all I got right now. You got any over there?
Let me look here. Tannehill or Fitzpatrick? Easy one for me. I'm playing Tannehill. It's funny. Our friend Mike Dempsey, often co-host on the Sirius XM show, is playing Tannehill, but always jokes that you could just feel like he has his hands on the carpet ready to pull it out from under you. We're just waiting for him to become the Miami guy, and I don't know that he's going to do that. So there you have it. I'm playing
Fitzpatrick, though. I mean, he's been a backup all his life, and all of a sudden he's playing.
Right, he always does that, though. You know it's coming. You just don't know when. So, and I think it's a great matchup for him as well, so I wouldn't talk you out of him. It's easy call for me on this one, though, Tannehill.
Perfect. Sounds good. Waiting for more questions. I did want to mention, we talked about it just before we went on air, this Justin Watson for Tampa Bay, who's done nothing for 2 years. He was drafted in 2018, and I think it was the 5th round, was it? Now, I realize we don't want to get too crazy excited about things, but you do have a situation where you may want to consider this guy. He had 55. His snaps went way up after Evans got hurt. He ended up with 16 PPR points, had 8 targets, 5 catches, and a touchdown. If you're hurting for a flex or a second flex, what do you think? You consider this guy?
I wish I had more to hang my hat on there. I mean, I liked last week's spike performance. I know Scott Miller's coming back this week. They didn't have him last week. So, but Miller's more of a slot guy anyway, and he's kind of the new Adam Humphries. So, I think you're reaching a little bit there, but look, it's
a desperation idea. It's a desperation play, and sometimes you're stuck with something, and this is a good situation for him. Evans is out. If Miller's coming back, maybe that changes things, even though the slot position. But that was a pretty good production, so, I don't want to ignore it.
All right.
But hanging your hat on it isn't necessarily an easy thing to do.
No. And look, I mean, I don't think anyone there beyond Godwin now is. But between him and Perriman, I would have a hard time making the decision. And if I had to make it like 6 times, I'd take 3 shares of each, right? I mean, just we consider Perriman a little more of a proven commodity. But what has he proven? I mean, he's proven that he was a first-round bust in Baltimore, and he's been a spot play, for the Buccaneers. So I don't know that either of them are it would be 6 to 1, half dozen of the other for me. You're taking your chances.
Cool. All right, that's all I got right now. We got 30 minutes in.
All right, we're almost ready to wind it up. If you're just checking this out and then stumbled across this for the first time, he's Emil Cadlick. I'm Bob Harris. We're from footballdiehards.com. You can check out the website for free right now. It's footballdiehards.com/free trial. That'll get you a 2-week tour. Tons of information available. Some great analysis from the likes of former DraftKings millionaire maker Bobby Gomes, Brad Cruz, one of the world's best high-stakes players, chimes in a couple weeks with his times a week with his sit starts, both Thursday and Saturday. Tons of DFS content from myself, Justin Lanero, Kyle Dvorak. Great free agency articles early in the week from the likes of Evan Tarciano, Matthew Sharon. Mike Valverde kicks in with his usual stock report as well during the week. Gary Davenport, of course, covering IDP with his tip sheet and doing the shadow coverage pieces. So tons of video. Don't miss out every Wednesday at 8:15 Eastern. We do the roster build video with Bobby Gomes and Kyle, kind of go through the initial lineup setting. Then they come back on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time, do another round of live video. You can tune in, ask questions, get answers. You can also listen to the Football Diehards on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio 7 days a week. Saturday, you have to tune into the NFL channel, SiriusXM NFL 88, but the rest of the days we're on 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. And Sunday, I'm on the pregame show with Jeff Mans. As always, we'll have news, notes, tons of information, an ongoing stream of news updates right up through each round of kickoffs, giving you all the inactives and all the latest intel, giving you a little jump on the competition if you need it, and don't we all?
Yes, exciting week. And by the way, we talk all the stats. We talk snap, we talk target, we talk all this weekly stuff. It's all on the website under the stats and or the resource button. So have at it.
Yeah, everything, all the numbers we talk about, everything is there. And one of the great things that we just introduced this year, which I'm a big user of, I'm in a lot of leagues, so free agency can be a bit of a hassle. Go out and try the free agency tool. Very top of the page, we have a link to it. You can actually go out, it will go and pull in your teams from all the various platforms, My Fantasy League, ESPN, CBS, Yahoo, wherever you're playing, and examine and give you a list of the free agents available to you. It's invaluable. For me, in so many leagues, I don't know how I would live without it. Also, our DFS lineup optimizers available every week right up through kickoff. So check all that stuff out. And again, the red zone target stats, regular target stats, red zone rushing stats, a whole array of things, schedule information as well. So check it all out, and we'll be back here again next week. Next week, I'm told, is a big game for some of the fantasy people. So we'll be back here for your championship. We wish you best of luck in your playoff games this week, and hope you tear it up, light it up, and win some money in the DFS too. Don't miss out on the DFS stuff. Ton of fun. If you're out of the season long, there's no better way to make up for it by jumping into the DFS pool. And if you're not really familiar with it, go to the website. We got a ton of information there to help you get up to speed. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.